Hi, my name is David Bailey. Welcome to American Literature. This is going to be our first sample video to kind of test out the mechanics, make sure everybody's on board, and really just to make sure that everybody can see the video and that there's no problems. I am going to talk to you for a few minutes about what we're going to do to get started. I'm not going to do specifics of classroom procedure or what the assignments are going to be. I'd rather just kind of, bark at you about new historicism for a little while because that's going to make me happier. Besides, I think when you're looking at the instructions for the class, you'd rather actually read those and have me explain it. Literature is a very complex and dynamic beast, and the complexities of literature can leave us a bit overwhelmed at times, and that's because the authority figures, the people who have become respected voices and scholars of literature, are often fighting amongst themselves. This is really important because our understanding and our opinion of literature is always changing, and there's no difference now with what's being written and what's being produced about literature. The primary focus that I take, and I'm going to talk a little bit about literary theories. Literary theories are kind of big overlays that we put on works and texts to try to get easier access to them, to start a conversation about them. And depending on what literary theory you choose, it can determine what you look for and what you value and how you evaluate a piece. Overall, my primary mode of analyzing a text is new historicism. When I read a book, and especially a classic piece of literature, I really am invested in what the author intended. I want to know what the author was trying to do, what was going on in his day, what was popular, why did he choose to use the constructs that he did. Because there's a really big disconnect between what a reader will react to in the current day and how that message was supposed to be conveyed back then and how it was supposed to be read in its contexts. That really is a huge part of new historicism, that we put more careful emphasis on author intention and author experience, that the experience of the reader kind of suffers in comparison, that we don't necessarily worry so much about how we react to things. Now, that being said, I'm going to make allowances for reader response writing and reader response criticism as we start reading our texts. Our first reading assignment is going to be The Day of Doom by Michael Wigglesworth. You have to wiggle your fingers when you say Wigglesworth. And Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God by Jonathan Edwards. I think this is a really, really good place to start because it really is the seed that started what we understand as American literature. And you'll find as we go on through the class that the American part of American literature is actually a bit up for debate. Does it start when the settlers came over from the colonies, or do we really need to start with the stories of the Native Americans who were here before? But for me, I'm taking the classic approach of the Western literature idea that we're going to start with the Puritans, and hopefully as we go along we might backtrack and integrate some Native American material as we go in. I love to start here because this writing is going to be primarily religious. These are Puritans, and if you go at this from a reader response styled analysis where you look at how you reacted and you think about you're reacting to the text now, you're going to get something completely different than from when you react to it from a Puritanic standpoint. And I'm not going to give you a lot of specifics right now about the Puritans because I want you to kind of have a cold reading of it. The main discussion question I think we're going to go with this reading assignment is, what did the Puritans believe? What separated them from Christians as they exist today in the mainstream? And keep in mind, I believe there are some segments of Christianity that would still agree with the primary tenets of Puritanism, but let's see if you can figure it out just by reading what they wrote. It'll be an interesting exercise in reader response and historical analysis to kind of compare the two. So on that note, I'm going to give you a specific selection of Day of Doom because it is long and it is a miserable read. I'm going to try to give you the stuff that really stands out so that you get an idea of what Wigglesworth was about. But you should be able to read Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God in its entirety. So think about this. In what ways did the Puritans differ from mainstream Christians as we understand them today? Thank you. Y'all have a lovely week.